Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Poetalk. Today we have the pleasure to be joined by community content creator Engineering Eternity and a local favorite in the PoeLab Discord, Dicey. Dicey's just a good friend of mine that I've been playing with for quite a while, and he's got a lot of info to input into a lot of the tools and guides that we'll be talking about. So that'll be cool. And he's never been on here, but he's been a mod in my channel for a decent while, and we've always talked about him being a stand-in just in case PoeLab can't make it. So this will be his first appearance here. Um, and we've put together an episode that's pretty much all about the community tools and guides in this section. Now we've done an episode in the past with Emmett about his PoE skill tree planner and the item MTX finder, and now we're going to be talking about the rest of them. There's a lot, so we're going to get started. And with Path of Exile being, quite the complex game, there's very little in the game as far as details for, guides of like how to start. And I know that a lot of people actually just stop playing after the first couple hours because they just don't know what to do. There's just not that much in-game knowledge. So the community has come together and created some really quality guides that we're going to be talking about, and tools to help aid new players and even old players, just make the game overall, really easy. And that's going to help them, with their conquest to conquer all that PoE has to offer.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like the whole new guides for playing Path. I feel like there's been quite a few attempts at see new guides and player guides, build guides, any kind of guides for new players, but not something really solid. I'm not trying to knock anybody out there. I'm just saying there hasn't been a lot of consistency in covering all aspects for all new players and such like that, except for what I've been seeing coming from engineering lately, because he's trying to cover everything on these new guides. Because when I started playing, I think I just went straight through Ziggy's YouTube and just tried to find whatever I could and hope that it was what I was looking for. Because at the time, I mean, that's really all I could find.
yeah.
But the PoE forum for guides, I've used that a few times as a new player, but eventually I kind of migrated away from that, just not even using the forums. There, I don't know. I know I'm just saying a bunch of
originally
nonsense, but
originally back in beta, or maybe near the end of beta, I think Invalesco, who used to play Path a lot and had some guides up, he had one guide on the forums that kind of covered a lot of the ways to get started. But it like now it's completely out of date. But I used to show that to a bunch of my friends. It was just a written forum post with some images, but there wasn't much else. It's like when I was beginning, I started by watching a lot of Crip. Like Crip got me into this game, and I used
I
to
hear that
try
a
and
lot.
watch his stream. I used to watch his stream all the time to try and figure out what I was supposed to do. And basically, I learned a lot of the game on my own and kind of came across things as I went, instead of like sitting down and watching a whole bunch of tutorials before playing. And it had its benefits because you learn and you're like, oh, that makes sense, and you feel like you've done something. But then there's a lot of people that will never get the same benefits of having somebody show them something, or making the same mistakes or possibly same discoveries, and then they'll just stop playing. That's what's happened to a couple of my friends that have tried playing it without me helping them at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that
it's
when I
like,
first started playing, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
nope.
Well, I was just
Okay.
gonna say, I know me and like PoeLab, we've been playing for a while, and I assume an engineering attorney has as well. Back in the day, we had the forums, but I know you came at it a little later there, Paleo, and a lot of these guides, like the video guides that some of these content creators had tried to put out that PoeLab was talking about, those were out. Did you use any of those, or how did you learn?
From the get-go, honestly, I started playing, and I think the very first character I ever made, funny enough, was a freezing pulse character, and I didn't really follow any guides. But the second character, and pretty much every character after that, for about 2 leagues, once my buddy told me about the forums. I have a buddy that I've played with for pretty much every league. He plays for like the first week or two. He's the one who got me into this game. Actually, I used to play Diablo 3 and Diablo 2, and once we kind of got burnt out of Diablo, we came to here, and he told me about the guides. And I remember back then there was way more guides on the forums, way more. I actually just recently kind of searched the forums earlier today, and there's so much less, you know, guides out there. I don't know. Just people aren't doing it anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot more call for just build guides rather than guides for understanding what to do in the game. And as I was saying before we started, like the problem with build guides is they're play by the patch and they don't explain a lot on how the game mechanics actually work. So you'll hand somebody a build guide, like a brand new player, and they'll look at it and they'll say, oh, wow, it does a bunch of damage in the end, but they have no idea how to get to the end. And they don't know if they're missing 1 or 2 items from that set that the build just doesn't work. And it ends up making people more mad than happy with it because they'll get a build that they think is going to be great and it doesn't work out. And they're like, I just wasted a bunch of time and they just missed a couple things. And it's tough. So yeah, there aren't many written guides for it because mainly it's like there's a lot to write, and it just doesn't come off as well as showing it visually.
Right.
Yeah.
I know back in, what was it, 1.2 when Masters came out, I wanted to learn crafting because of the new abilities with the Masters. So I was trying to find people that were, content creators that were trying to share that kind of information. And the guy I came across was Ghazi. And he was doing a bunch of crafting back then. He was doing about 30K alterations on amulets, all on live stream, and wasting a ton of exalts, just hoping for something. But he'd always say, I'm just demonstrating, just showing you this is at a loss. But it was great for learning, back then. And it's cool now because I'm seeing he's doing more of that, trying to make more content about crafting, trying to get back into his old swing on that. It's cool to see him doing that.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot back then, though. I mean, I think I found a couple of Ghazi's crafting ones, but it was later on, like way after Masters. But there wasn't a lot out there on them. From what I remember looking for, just, I
Right.
guess it was kind of hard to keep up with all that.
Yeah, most of the stuff he did was live.
Yeah, back in the day, I used to use those guides for like inspiration to make my own builds. Once I kind of learned how to use the skill tree planner and stuff like that, which was a game changer for me. I feel like people should use guides to get started, to kind of get them into the swing of things, because there is a lot of information to learn. But then at the same time, I feel like they should stray away from guides because that forces you to learn. I remember when I was following a bunch of guides, and I was kind of thinking back as I started streaming, and I'm like, I actually don't know what the fuck I'm talking about or doing. I just follow this skill tree. Obviously, if they made a build guide, they're better than me because they made this build guide and it's on the forums. They obviously know more than me, so I should just follow this build guide. So what I did to counter that was I went an entire league without looking at any builds whatsoever. Made all my builds from PoE Skill Tree Planner, and that was probably the best thing I could have ever done. It really made me understand the skill tree better, allowed me to make my own builds, and it kind of sparked more creativity and stuff from it, so that's cool. What about you guys?
Personally, I think I started out, my first character was like a ground slam marauder, and I made the tree terribly. It was awful. Even though you can't really mess up a marauder in the beginning, I got things like life gain on hit from the tree and stuff like that. It was bad. Yeah, I started out with pretty much no guides. I started out just watching what Crip was doing, and I kind of tried to follow him. And really, I just messed up a bunch. And then when I got into the game after beta, I started following guides to understand how people kind of min-max their builds and what they were actually doing to do mechanics for it. And then I'd say in the past 2 or 3 leagues, I've been trying to make pretty much my own builds when I'm doing it, or make the build up and then go look on the forum if anybody's done it, and then kind of compare maybe what I may be missing, or if there's something that already exists and I can see if it was bad or good. So I try and avoid just copying other people's builds at this point, unless it's something that's, there's no other option because it's the way the build is. So
Yeah, I think at this point with the skill tree the way it is, with very little changes, and it's kind of to the point where like you can only build Hawa so many ways. So
exactly,
you can whip up a Hawa tree and, oh, this is the exact tree this guy already made. Why waste my time when I can just use that? Or what you can do is you can grab somebody else's tree, look it over, and go, can I path better? Can I get something that I want more than whatever he has? So you can definitely tweak the other trees and like save yourself a lot of time, because at this point, until 3.0 and beta, it's kind of stagnant, but
right. And a lot
not,
of it,
not
I
in a
think,
bad way, I feel.
I think part of it's changed too because like Path of Building, you can just import, people's builds. Basically, you can just be like, oh, what's their character? Boom,
The
import.
entire thing.
But that doesn't
gear,
really help
everything.
your
It-
new players because
It
it takes
doesn't
them a
help
while
new
before
players,
they
but it
find
helps. It helps mid-tier players get better.
Yeah.
Like they
It also-
can put it in and actually understand like what happens if I start changing stuff. Like how does that influence this build? And then you can start to understand like, oh, okay, this is why he made the decisions he made.
Mhm. Yeah, Path of Building is pretty great for that, but I won't talk about it now
good.
because
Right.
we want
Yeah,
to
we'll
talk
be
about it
talking
later.
about
But
that later. There's plenty of. We'll be talking about lots of good stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot of good beginner guides. General information, not anything really about like builds or whatever. And I know that Engineering Eternity, you made a pretty extensive beginner guide. Say I've got it playing in the background right now. There's 10 videos in this series.
yeah,
Build. Always
It's
try
like-
and
it's a
path through or
90-minute
close to
series.
notables, defend.
That was
But,
like the best thing I'd ever seen.
yeah,
Like
It's very-
10 videos of what?
I
was a-
originally.
Oh, good. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I originally was like, oh, I'll make this like this guide, and I'll make it nice and simple, nice and straightforward for all the basic mechanics. Then you start getting into it, and you look at it, you're like, oh man, there's so much stuff, and then you run into these deadlocks where you need to explain something about like, oh, you have skill gems, but you have to put those in gear, but there's sockets in gear that can be linked, but you can also do. It's just like, oh god, how do I explain this in the correct order that it doesn't completely throw people off of understanding? And it just turned into like this extremely long guide, and I was done writing. I was like, oh, this is like 42 pages, so this isn't going to be a short video. And it turned out to be like 90 plus minutes of video, so I was like, I got to break this up into a bunch of videos. And
Well, I think that it was perfect that you made it into multiple different videos, and I really like the way you formatted everything and kind of have like a breakdown. They're very very organized, and it kind of reminds me of kind of reminds me of Lifting Nerd Bro. Like when we had done a collaboration with him for a YouTube video, he had a script, like literally like read from script, and that's just how he worked. Is that how you also work? It seems like if you're writing a script for it, then I'm guessing so.
I'd like to write a full script before, so I don't ramble or misspeak or repeat myself or say something that's wrong, because I don't like to. I want to try and give as much correct information as I can. I know that some things are incorrect or I miss some things because there's just so much to cover. But yeah, I like to write the script and read from that, and then of course it gives everybody the option to read the script if they don't want to watch the whole video or they want to refer to the written portion instead of like skipping around in the video to find it. So it's kind of a win-win.
That's really good, yeah.
Makes it a bit more organized for me.
Good on retention time. I mean, a lot of people just don't want to sit through it, but they just want to. They're one little piece of information and they're good to go.
I can't tell you how many times I've watched a video guide and like went back and forth a couple times when I was first learning, and like re-listening to what he said multiple times because then maybe I'm like following a skill tree or something like that.
Yeah.
So having a written script I could definitely see that be very beneficial.
That's why I like build guides that have demonstration videos, but really have build guide form posts so you can really read it and look at it and then refer to it while you're playing. And that's why when I made my build guides, I made it pretty much the entire script, and I just pulled that over and put it in a forum post with all the item links, and then made a video along with it for people that wanted to see the demonstration and or wanted to watch the whole video of how I did it. So really, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for people to get to the information that they want, regardless of how it is.
Right. All right. So for builds, there's a lot of cool content creators, or not cool, a lot of well-made content creators that are out there that are people like Mathel, Lifting Nerd Bro, and obviously I think you've made 2 Engineering Eternity, 2 builds.
Yeah, I try to only make build guides for builds that I've made on my own and not ones that are like half and half from the forum or anything like that. So
Gotcha. What were they? They were Brutus Let's Sprinkler,
the
right?
Brutus Lead Sprinkler and a like discount Ethereal Knives CI Nova thingy.
How did you like the discount version? Because I know that the normal
worked really
one's pretty
well.
good.
Yeah, most of the ones that I saw are the only videos that I saw. I think one was by Joshy, and then Cute Dog was playing one for a while, and they were all like using topped out headhunter shavs, everything you could imagine with them. So I was like, well, I can't afford this right now, and some other people were asking for like a discount version, so I was trying to make it as cheap as possible while having like pretty good survivability, and it worked out pretty well. I was running it all the way through like tier 15 maps until I got my got the shavs and everything else, and worked pretty well.
Nice.
That also makes build guys that's a little lesser known, but C9 made got Howa kind of popular. He also was.
Is that Eric Hikinson or
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, I think that's yeah.
C9
He makes
is how I know him of.
Yes, yeah, it's
the Worm Blaster.
Yep.
Yeah, he's made some really interesting builds, and when he comes out with one, it's usually kind of different
Mhm.
than the meta is, and it sometimes comes out and just like redefines the meta. I'm really interested in his builds when they come out.
Is he playing this league? Do you know?
I do not know, actually. I haven't seen him.
I think so. He's posted some like he posts a lot of meme type videos of Path of Exile, a lot of joke videos, but he does post some like real videos, and I like watching all the videos he puts out. I think I have him referred to in my in all my video links or whatever.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
That's cool. It's cool. It's one thing I do like about the community in general. We're able to support one another. Sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was just trying to do what my
for it.
quiet ass does best. Just keep us rolling, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring us to the tools section. Is that cool?
No, we need trade
You ready
guides.
for that? Oh, we skipped trade guides? Oh no, I skipped something.
You can go ahead and read the trade guides section.
Hey, well, guess what? There's a lot of trade guides out there, and sometimes they can be pretty confusing for new players, especially because I'm not gonna lie, I've gone and watched a couple of them. I know ZD has a bunch. There's a couple other ones out there. Can't remember by who, but I think they're kind of vague. Some of them they're vague for new players. I should say that. I understand what they're trying to say as more of a veteran, but do you plan on making anything like that? Any trade guides or anything?
A lot of people are requesting that I make crafting and trade guides. Pretty much any guide. Like if you look at the comments when I ask for suggestions, everybody asks for a different guide. There's no consensus all the time, which is good because it gives me a lot of options for what I can make next.
Yeah.
But I plan on trying to make something for that. It's just it's a lot like the item guide, where I guess as you were saying, Pee Wee Lab, that you get a lot of vagueness with how accurate you can be with either trade prices or the methods of trading and things like that. Because there's a lot of you kind of learn it as you do it, rather than just being told this is the exact way to do it and never changes.
Right.
So there's a lot of variability, and it's sort of tough. It'll more turn into, oh, here's a pricing kind of guide, which is kind of what my item guide did, but maybe some methods for trading and knowing in the beginning of leagues what to look for and what to try and keep an eye out for with the metas and how they change. Because in that sense, you can make a lot of money from just flipping items or picking things up that people may think aren't worth anything. And but yeah, if I can do it, I'll make a guide. If I think I can make something that's worthy of being a guide, yeah.
I've got
one thing I've always
go ahead. No, good.
One thing I've always said about the trade guides is the reason why they got to be vague. They have to be vague is because as soon as they start mentioning particulars, like, oh, this drunken aristocrat div card is undervalued, that well runs dry instantly.
Yep.
It's no longer
if it is undervalued, it's no longer undervalued, and your video is no longer relevant. As soon as they look at the prices, they'll be like, well, no, it's not. And as soon as you put that thing out there saying, hey, look at this, it's already wrong.
Yeah.
So you can do it as an example, maybe, like, and just let it happen. But it's really tough.
The market is extremely volatile to the players, and there's no guessing on what'll be worth. Because, for example, like when a lot of the popular streamers pick builds, like everything from that build, that price bracket goes from nothing to very expensive very quickly, and then just slopes off very quickly when they shift into a different build. So it's really tough to say, what the best approach for trading is.
Yeah,
it really comes with experience.
Yeah.
I've actually got two videos that I released about a year ago. I'm gonna have to go rewatch them and make sure that they're still viable. I think they are because poetrade hasn't really changed at all. So I do have 2 videos on that, and then I have another video I have planned that I'm gonna have out in the next couple of days that goes over how to price gear, how to price items. I feel like I'm pretty accurate. Sometimes I'm off, but I feel like I'm pretty accurate at pricing things, and I get that question a lot. How much is this worth? How do I price this? And I think with some of the tools that we'll talk about today, I think having a follow-up guide would really be a good idea. Maybe Eternity, you want to like do a collab and make a guide together? I think that'd be pretty cool.
Sure.
We do like a trade guide because I've got a lot of experience in trading, especially this league. I've been doing a lot of trading and crafting, and I've got a lot of the knowledge that I can help you with that retrospect. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think you've learned a lot this league compared to, well, maybe the past few leagues. I think your knowledge on the game, Paleo, has just been like gas pedal, basically, just.
Yeah, I mean, I've been surrounding myself with players that are strong in all kinds of different retrospects. The podcast also, speaking with all of the higher end players, it really helps to kind of get your game up. And then also, this league has been the league that I've been focusing the most on improving myself, pushing goals. I've never really done that in the past leagues. I've just kind of played, and this was the first league that I've ever really tried to put some effort into getting a high amount of currency really early on, getting in the lab day one, stuff like that. Like I've never even tried that. I just kind of like started like, hey, new league is fun. Let's try everything else out. But this league I went ham, so I'm happy. I'm happy with that.
That's good. So one thing that I wanted to talk about were the tools, Paleo.
Okay.
Well, I was gonna say like the tools weren't really too much around when I first started, or maybe I didn't really know about them, or maybe there was only like one or two. But recently, these tools have just been popping up. More people are playing, more people are writing. What's that?
So, yeah, there's a lot of tools. I think back in beta, there was only like an exchange site with a matrix that showed the different exchanges for all the different currencies and things like that. And then there was PoE XYZ, which is now poetrade, and that was on like a really old style, just pure white HTML looking page with a bunch of little icons for all the items. And
I don't remember that.
You need two things that existed, and I think the currency exchange one was out of date like almost all the time, because back then it was mostly just standard league. There was no leagues, but as soon as leagues came around, it was just useless. But PoE XYZ stayed through the whole thing, but there was nothing really else. So
that currency exchange one, wasn't that also the one that had like didn't it have like the prices of how much each item worth in like RMT as well?
Yeah, and
I feel like that was shady as fuck.
Yeah. I think it was one of those sites that had a little shopping cart in the bottom right or something.
Yeah, you can just start buying shit.
Animating.
It kind of made it feel like RMT was like allowed in the game, because it kind of was like the one-stop shop to like see what items were worth, and you're like, oh, I can get $1 for an exalted. Ooh, cool.
Poetrade has really come a long ways in its time. I mean, it started out like you had to know the exact name if you misspelled it one character. There was no autocomplete, nothing. It was just unfriendly. There was other competition in indexers, but you come to now where they've just added buy orders for essences, maps, div cards.
So good.
It's really come a long ways. And not only that, back in the day, a private indexer used to be able to index about 8 minutes faster than it would be listed on poetrade. Now that thing, when poetrade's not under load, that thing drops down to seconds.
Yeah.
Like you really don't, unless you're optimizing your indexer or you're targeting it at specific things, you're not that much faster. Like poetrade has really come a long way. That socketed thing, when it actually works, it's amazing.
So speaking of poetrade and poe.ninja, poe.ninja is a website that it pretty much, I'll bring them up here. It pretty much allows you to see what kind of trends are going on right now. Like if you look at currency, you can see that Blessing of Kayula has dropped 1% over the last 7 days, so that's not really that beneficial. But if you kind of scroll down, Blessed Orbs have dropped 15%. Kind of gives you an indication of like maybe the market's transitioning in some way. Or you can kind of see like trends, like for instance, like the Apprentice Cartographer's Chisels went up 50%. It probably means that either somebody's buying a lot of them or more and more people are using the white sexton, so now these are becoming more valuable. And the same thing goes for like armors and stuff like that. You can see like the average prices. I do feel like these could be manipulated. I don't know what kind of like system is in place to not have, like, if they list shavs for 1,000 exalts, it's gonna skew the price. I'm guessing I'm hoping they have a way to remove that.
He does have a methodology for sanitizing his results that he's pulling to try and avoid, fake listings and duplicates and stuff like that. But it's far from perfect.
But it's
I tried
definitely
to write.
nice. I don't know. Do
Yeah,
either one of
definitely.
you guys use a Poetlab or Eternity? I know me and Dicey do.
I don't really use much of the like I'm not too extreme on the trading stuff, so I don't do a lot of flipping or exact like timing of currency or item exchanges. I kind of just do it as I have them.
Yeah, for me, I work well. Poetlab, what about you? Do you use the?
I was gonna say it depends on what I'm doing in the league. What I really like to do with poe.ninja is go through, because you can look through pretty much everything, the div cards, the currencies, the boots, whatever you want, and I just go through it and just click boop the little thing at the top that tells you it sorts the price, the what do you call it, how much it's increased by percentage.
Yeah.
So I could go and look, oh my god, this jewel increased by 500% for some weird reason, and then I'm like, oh, Mathel made a build. So that's kind of what I use it for. So
Yeah,
I
like
could just
the
judge
div
stuff.
card, the Mauer Blide apparently has went up 347% over the last 7 days. That's interesting. 16 to
like-
make Eyes of the Great Wolf.
You'll have like these things laying around, like what was that jewel from last league that everybody was using for Hala? Fertile Mind.
Fertile Mind,
Yeah.
It's like that. You end up with 2 or 3 of them, and you have no idea that they're worth like 10 plus chaos, because they're always worth like an alchemy. And then you're like, whoa, what's going on here? So
Well, that
that's
looks
kind of how I
extreme.
found out about that.
I don't know if this is a new a new prophecy or something. It's called the Nest. It's went up 7,616%.
The nest is Rat's Nest, I believe.
No, it's you'll check on a powerful. Oh, actually, it might be Rats. Did Rats Nets go up in price? Guess we can check the.
Did Mathel make a build?
Yes.
Everybody's like going to poetrade and poe.ninja right now.
I don't actually
Whoa.
even see it like raising up in price though. They're like 56 chaos a piece, so
Maybe there's just none online. Nobody's listing them, and
Rats Nest are 2 chaos. Yeah, I have no idea. It's kind of weird. I think
Do you
that's
guys
those are
have
the kind of
any-
things that are skewed or something like that. I don't know.
right
you
for
guys have
like
any
some
tips?
prophecies that'll be at the end of like a chain or in the middle of a chain. Nobody will be listing them, then somebody will just overprice one, and it will skew the ninja prices.
Right. Plab, you were
I
saying?
was going to say, do you guys have any tips or anything when it comes to using those?
I use, like I said, I use this to kind of track. So, like, for instance, like if I have like 30 or 40 exalts and I'm worried about the market crashing, like it kind of did a couple weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago, and they were like 112 and they dropped down to 80. This would be shown in this chart, and if you see them dipping down real fast, real sharp, that either could be an indication of somebody's trying to influx the market with like they're trying to get the market cheap and then buy them all up, or people are dumping their exalts for whatever reason. So yeah, market control, this kind of like helps you see that in motion. But as far as like tips and tricks, oh sorry, go ahead.
It also lets you see some like disparities. Like I remember last league, I was looking at Ninja, and I was looking at the Barracks Pass, Respite, and all those, and their total cost was about 140 chaos to make a taming, and then taming was selling for 200. It was just a giant disparity. And then you started making them, and they'd insta sell. Made no sense, but you wouldn't have seen that unless you were like looking specifically into it or looking at poe.ninja.
Yeah, it looks like they've fixed that. Taming's
Well,
80 chaos, Barracks Respite's 69.
Yeah,
Like,
Respite is.
But the other two are
damn near
chaos,
gaming
so I guess
now.
theoretically you could make 10 chaos a piece.
It changed completely with the redesign of Respite, that market.
Yeah. Another tip that I like to show people that refers to jewels exactly. So for a jewel, if you're on poetrade, a lot of people they add mods. on what they want. So if they're looking for like a 4-property jewel, they'll kind of think of like the best 4-property jewel and then put them in the spot and then hit search. But I forget which, I think it was Ziz that I was watching. He was adding in like a shit ton of modifiers, and I was like, what the hell is he doing? And essentially he was putting in anything he wants on a jewel, whether it be attack speed in all different varieties, whether it be any kind of crit multi for elemental skills if he's playing a cold skill, then crit multi for cold skills, stuff like that. So he puts on every single modifier he wants, and then instead of having and, you put count, and then you put in like a minimum of 3 or 4 properties, and this allows you to look up jewels that people sometimes don't price correctly. And you can get them super cheap, like 4-property jewels for like 4 or 5 chaos, just because it's not the typical search that people are looking for. And I think that's a really good tip.
Right, and then you can add a filter group to it as well, so then you can follow it up with something like, for like a dagger or something like that. Like, hey, I want these mods to be present, select 2 of them, and then I would just don't include these mods. So don't include, make sure it doesn't have attack mods on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're trying to like maybe look for an open prefix or something like that.
What about Eternity? What you got? Any tips or tricks for either poe.ninja, poetrade, or currency.poe.trade?
Well, I don't use the currency exchange ones too much, but I'd say on poetrade, when you're trying to look for items, and I've said this I think in my guides, you want to keep your search functions loose. You don't want to be too overbearing with it, because if you keep them a little low, and you also keep a lookout for if there's a prefix or suffix open on the item, then you can get a lot more results, and that could be the difference between an exalt or like 100 chaos or something like that. You could get something real cheap and then just craft an affix on it, and it'll end up being worth the exalt that you would have paid for the other item. So just try and keep your search functions loose, I'd say.
Or you can be on the opposite side of that and be extremely extreme and force it so that it can only look that it will only look with something that has an open suffix. So like essentially what you'd have to do is you'd have to like add a filter group to look for everything that you want, and then add another filter group to have everything that you don't want. And then that would allow you to have like that open suffix. I wish there was just a setting just to look for open suffix, open prefix. That would be phenomenal. But you know, it is what it is. The only other thing that I can think of that would be like really easy to show is currency.poe.trade. When you're using it, you know, you can use it the standard way, you know, say what do you have and what do you want. There's 2 different things. And I use this a lot, so this might bite me in the ass, but say you have chaos and you want to buy exalts. Actually that one might not be a good example. We'll say this one, I use this one a lot. So I have Tollstones, and I want to buy chaos with Tollstones, and I hit search. It's going to have everybody that has chaos that wants to buy Tollstones. So I can get 7 chaos for these Tollstones. Cool. But if you reverse the search and go, I have chaos and I want Tollstones, a lot of the times they're different. Yeah, see, these are 8 chaos. So if you put in a buy order for the things that you want, instead of going to poetrade with the currency to buy the item, what I do is I set up a buy order, which can be done in Manager Shop. You need to be able to you need the link, the trade link that you get from messaging poe.xyz. And that's kind of covered in setting up procurement or Inquisition. But once you get that link, then you can click on whatever league you're on. You log in with that link and whatever league you're on, and you just set up buy orders. And as you can see, I have so many. I have a buy order up for every single essence. I have a buy order up for Tollstones. And all you have to do is come in here and you can edit these, and you just hit save and bump, and then now you're at the top of the list, and you get shit way cheaper. Or acquisition, not Inquisition, sorry. Yeah, that's what I got for that.
Got a few in there.
Yeah.
Love how it takes like a minute to load. Like after you save it nowadays, they're so big.
One thing I've never does this make a forum post and then the API crawls that forum post for you? Is that why it needs the link?
I'm not exactly sure how he
I was
programmed
curious about that, but yeah. So our next topic here that we'll be talking about is Poe Trade Helper, Trade Companion, or Poe Companion, and Mercury Trade. And I don't know how much. I think I just got Dicey getting into it using Poe Trade Helper. Polab or Eternity, do you guys use either of these tools? They're essentially like a tool that pops up a notification when you receive a trade request.
I haven't used them, but I've seen them used. I just don't do enough intense trading to really warrant the use of it.
Anyone should use this.
It's amazing. is.
I know it's got a nice little UI that pops up for inviting and everything like that. It would be nice to have that in the game, of course,
Well,
but you know,
I think one of the
um,
main reasons why they wouldn't do that though is just taking responsibility for it,
well,
Mhm.
maintenance and all that. Mm.
so the
Yeah,
one that
I
I
think-
personally use is the Trade Helper, which he recently renamed it the Trade Companion or Companion. And I downloaded the most recent one and I started using it and I had nothing but problems. The message would pop up, but it would be behind Path of Exile, and I'm in window mode, and I've been in window mode using his Trade Helper this whole time. Nothing's changed there. Setting different commands. He added functions to allow the ability to add multiple lines of responses, so you can cycle through whatever response. You can have like 3 or 4 responses set up for like accepting a trade or declining a trade. You can just hit the button, say invite the person, and it'll say sure my hideout, and then invite them. And it's just one button click, and whatever reason it wasn't working. So I recommend anybody that wants to try it out is download the 1.8.8. It's the most latest release for Trade Helper before he switched to Trade Companion. That's what I would recommend. I've never dealt with Mercury Trade, but I feel like the UI looks bad compared to Trade Helper, but functionality is pretty much the same. Ziggy D uses Mercury Trade. I use Trade Companion. You guys can check them both out on the forum. And I'll have the links down in the description of the video for the YouTube that you guys can check out.
From what I
I
understand,
also linked it in chat.
those
Okay.
are really good for people who do really hardcore mapping, like who are just in and out of maps, don't have time for trading and stuff like that, right? The little helper one, the
Yeah,
one
it's
with
pretty
the
nice in that regard too.
Also, if you're in lab, you can queue up trades. It'll actually have windowed trades, and when you're out of lab, when you can like hit like still interested, and it'll send them the message and then what the offer was and what the item was. And then if they say sure, like you invite them. It's all button clicks, no fucking typing. And then I even found out this wasn't in the previous releases of Trade's Helper, but I think they added it later on. There's a trade button to actually just trade the person. So essentially, it calls up the command it would be %sign buyer name, and it knows buyer name by the message sent to you. It is essentially trades the most recent person that has messaged you about an item, and you click trade with them, and it types out the command to trade, because there's actually a line to do a trade with somebody. So you don't have to right click on their name and click trade with the person or whatever. So that's, I don't know, it's just ease of use is just so good.
Yeah.
Ever since I had it, it's just like, oh, thank God. Beautiful.
Also helps for keeping track of trades. Like I'll be sitting there and I'll
Oh,
have
yeah.
5 guys in my hideout, and I'm like, oh god damn it, what did you want again?
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
worst
No.
when I like in the beginning of the league, I'll generally sell a bunch of maps that I have that I don't want, or I have an overabundance for like a bunch of alchemies or chisels, and doing that is a literal nightmare. It's so awful. I get a bunch of alchemies, but I sit there for like 20 minutes nonstop, just pulling maps out of my inventory, then trading them to random people, and it's like, oh god, which one do you want? And he's like, no, I want 10 of these. I was like, oh god. It's like I don't know how to do this. There's so many people requesting. I'm getting trade requests and whispers, and I'm sure it would help. I'm sure Mercury Trade or PoE Trade would or the other PoE trade app would help. But I think there'd just be so many whispers that it would just be a whole queue of messages on my window because of it. But
Well, it's tabbed actually, which is nice. It's only
Okay.
one box, and then you just click on the tabs, and then in the tabs it has all the
okay,
information you need. It has the buyer's name, it has what they want, what they're offering. It has additional messages if they type something else out. That'll like show
Right,
as
it
in, like
also-
they've typed something else.
If you hit
Okay.
like the thank you button, it basically responds to them, kicks them from party, and closes the tab.
yes, yeah.
So
All
it's-
right, I guess I'll have to try this thing out. I was gonna try it out
I
when
highly
I saw
recommend.
it earlier, but yeah, I just wasn't doing enough crazy trading to really need it, I guess. But I'll definitely give it a shot.
And one of the biggest things also as well, if you're a type of person that likes to AFK and like maybe do stuff around the house or cook or watch a video on the side and you're not paying attention to the screen, if you're alt tabbed or even when you're not, it makes like a little like blue noise, like a Windows notification noise, and it flashes PoE. So like you can't miss a trade. Like it's pretty hard to, like if you have sound on, like you're gonna not miss the trade, which is great. And another thing is when we were having game crashes, when their game was crashing a lot, you would lose that trade. You'd have no idea who messaged you unless you remembered their name. This stays open and it has everything just saved because it works off of the chat log within PoE. And if you ever need to find something that, like if your game crashes, if you ever needed to find something, you could easily just go to your chat log in the PoE folder and everything's logged there. So you could actually look it up that way before this existed. It's a beautiful thing.
The next thing that you guys have on here is Poe app, right? Poeapp.com. I've never seen this thing. I'm checking it out right now.
I think
Never
Dicey
seen it.
added it. I have no idea what it is.
It's an alternative poetrade. It's a different indexer, an alternative indexer.
Oh, I did look at this.
Getting a little more use.
At the time, it was shit, but apparently it's gotten better. Yeah, it looks way different.
It's gotten better. He doesn't have sockets or anything like that, but sometimes poetrade doesn't either. I mean,
yeah, it doesn't work
break.
sometimes.
Oh,
definitely
it works pretty well.
Like definitely, better things to kind of. Well, I think there's some better things in here. I'm still trying to figure this thing out.
Right. Once you get so accustomed to poetrade, going to a different one, you're like, wait, what? Where's my thing?
Well, I mean, like what
item levels.
Since you put it in here, what does this have that poetrade doesn't? Like I'm looking at it, it looks like everything's exactly this. Looks like a copy paste and just a different UI.
It works when poetrade's down.
All
Say
right.
that much.
Okay.
You know, when,
fair
the
enough.
beginning of a league and poetrade goes down, hey, Poe app works. You know, you can still buy. You can still search the market.
Basically, that's how you're selling.
That's
it.
my
Yeah.
It's my secondary. Whenever poetrade has any issues, boom, Poe app.
Okay.
But you know, I'm sure some new players they might just like the aesthetics of it better. I don't know.
I think it kind of looks worse because it only takes like I don't know. It's formatted really strangely. Like it's like shoved all the way to the left-hand side of my screen, and like I have all this blank space that's useless. I don't understand why.
It looks like it's made for a mobile device.
Yeah, it does. Like it looks like phone. Yeah, it looks very phone-like. If it was a PoE trade for phone.
Are you talking about on the searches when you open the search?
I mean, I have it up right now. Yeah, like it's everything's smushed all the way to the left.
Oh, search something.
I don't. Yeah, but I don't want like what I.
Just
I'm
type
looking.
It shows the search on the right side. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
and then it actually has a grid view that you can do.
Please resolve the issues.
Nice.
Oh god, the grid view. Oh, so many texts. So much text.
It's not bad. Yeah, just type in the search whatever, and you'll see it all. Yeah, see, and then you can sort it and do all kind of random stuff.
Okay, that's okay, I guess.
Whoa, what did you click on?
Looks like they have
I
a
have
search
no
live
idea.
option at the top.
I think I clicked on the $sign. Yeah, I clicked on the $sign. It must be like their version of PoE currency.
Oh snap!
You can sell unshaping orbs?
Well, yeah.
I didn't think it would be a tradable option or a tradable item. 15 chaos. Okay, that's it. I had no idea. Is that in PoE currency?
Yes. And stacked decks. Okay.
Actually,
I have stacked decks. I mean, I need stacked decks for my chaos.
Yeah, the Unshaper Orb's not actually in PoE currency. That's why I didn't even know it existed in Trade Rise. I know they really stray away from like having character bound or account bound things, which is nice. It's one of the reasons I stopped playing Diablo.
That's pretty interesting. I'm definitely gonna keep my eye out on that one.
Yeah, I'll keep this up and I'll give it a whirl and see if there's like better. If this this does have a search live option, Dicey.
Yeah, last time I checked the search live option, he had like 30-second increments and 60-second increments and like no socket connection. He might have changed that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, this doesn't even like give you an option to like I don't know how you just click live search and it doesn't actually like say how long it's gonna refresh or anything. I have no idea, but yeah.
So he must be actively developing it still.
Yeah, I mean it looks fairly new. I mean you can definitely tell this is like a beginner thing, but you know I definitely think that it's a good idea to have an alternative to PoE trade because PoE trades went down and people were losing their shit. So
right.
Kudos to PoE app for having a backup. All right, so PoE prices, I believe, and priceastash. Yeah, what I don't even. What are these?
Poeprices is kind of an interesting site, so it does some different type stuff for you. One of the things it does is it allows you to price an entire stash tab all at once. So you I don't know if you'd want to demonstrate it on stream. It's kind of technical.
I pulled it
But
up.
you follow the instructions. You push in this. I think it's JSON, but I actually can't remember what it spits out at you. Just some a giant snippet of code. You put that in, and then it prices your items. And I was testing it, and I was like, well, I bet it can't do rares. That was my first thought, is it will suck at rares. So I had to do a bunch of rares. Price my poeprices.info as under price my stash or priceastash.
You posted a screenshot of this somewhere in the Discord one time, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, and it was.
I looked at it. I
That's
opened the website. I looked at it, and I'm
auto-pricing.
like, close. It looked like a lot of work.
Well, look, let me send you
It
this.
is a little bit to do it the first time, but after you see how to price a stash, then you're like, okay, I can do it easy the second time. It's not that big deal, but it's a little bit of a process. But it actually came out and told me like, hey, these rares, they're worth, this one's worth 50 chaos. I went and checked my own price on the thing, and I was like, it's ballpark. I mean, it's not right by any means. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but I was like, damn, it's actually ballpark in these things. So it's like you can just have it priced. Like, say you do a bunch of, I don't know, tool runs. You fill a giant stash tab full of just rares that are identified. You can just be like, price that tab and just tell me if anything's worth looking at, actually.
Huh.
Like, if you're really lazy. I don't know if I trust it that much, but...
Yeah, really. I have a feeling it's going to start searching things like life regen and the bad mods. It'd be cool if there was a way to like have it ignore certain affixes. Now that would be good.
I don't know. I think he's done some kind of weighting on it or something, like behind the scenes, where he's weighting mods its values and assigning them value or some kind of. He's doing something for evaluating rares.
You see that picture I posted?
Better than I thought it would be.
That's what Dicey did. That was just sorry, Dicey. That was a demonstration that you posted where it price checked everything and price checked all your flask and the breach stones and all that shit. You were like, that auto pricing though, and I was like, what? Auto pricing?
Right, and the other thing that site allows you to do is it actually allows you to look at the stream of the data being added to the API. You pull up.
So essentially, you would import. Wait, what did I just do? Okay, so you would import a stash tab from. Is there an easy way to import from your profile?
No, that's the hard part. Is you have to figure out the index yourself.
You'd have to use something like PoE. Like you'd have to use like acquisition or
the way I did it was guessing and checking. I was just putting in variables into the URL and being like, and just looking at the code and being like, well, that's not the right tab. I think it's here in my index. What happens if I increment it by 3? Where does that put me? And then finally I was like, all right, I found out where the tab is. And then I'm just like, I'm just going to drop everything in that one tab because I know where that tab is now. I'm not looking for any other tabs.
I think using acquisition or procurement, it'll give you the break. I think you can just copy the code straight up, and I think that might work in this. I don't know. I'll have to play with it. It definitely seems like pricing gems. It should be pretty fucking easy instead of having to like control D over every gem if you're using item info script, which we'll talk about next. This would just be a way to like price my gem tab, and that would be fantastic. Yeah, definitely something to look into.
Yeah, I think what it does is it just it pulls your information, does a rough search from poetrade or some indexer that it maybe exists or maybe he has his own, and then looks at the prices that are posted for items that are similar within that range, and then gives you a rough estimate.
Right. It just lets you know kind of thing like, hey, this thing might be worth looking at. And for new players, sometimes they don't even know what ballpark they're in, what sport they're playing.
Yeah.
So this would really help them a lot.
Yeah, even if they're like selling it for cheaper than it would go for it, they probably would have vendored that item anyways because they didn't know. I've heard a lot of people say, wait, that was a good item. I vendored that like yesterday. Like that would help. Like just toss everything in a tab, have them run this. It would at least tell them that something's worth a lot. I like it. Good like kind of. They'd have to know how to get that script working, but
And there's some other cool things on that site. Like one of the fun little things, it lets you look at the stream of changes to the API being made. So when people are adding things to the stores, it kind of gives you like the fastest representation of what's being put up on the market. So you can like see things before poetrade's live search. Like they won't show up on there until until it's indexed. It'll take only probably 15 seconds on a good day, but it's still that little bit quicker.
I see that there's an option that says price a shop. Now your thread ID, is that from the forums?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Because I'm curious to know whether or not the PoE the public stash tabs count as a shop, and I kind of just want to toss my. Oh, it would be the thread ID, so it would be my forum post essentially when you're using procurement stuff. So I'd have to actually use procurement. I mean, that actually might force me to use procurement again, which isn't a terrible idea. I don't know. I'll definitely have to check it out off stream. Cool. So next thing I want to talk about here is the poetrade macro. This thing I've been using extensively, and a lot of time they ask me, what is it? Do you guys use it as well? Essentially, it's a very simple way to know affixes when you're crafting, and also price gear, price jewels mainly. But then I've even found there's advanced searches that you can do with it. There's all kinds of cool stuff. What do you guys think about that? Have you guys used it? I know Dicey has.
Still haven't done it yet, man. I'm just procrastinating.
How many times I've hyped it so much. Pricing a gem is as simple as hitting Control D and hovering over it, and it'll search the top 10 jewels, gems.
Oh yeah.
And why would I spend the time to install this when I could just be like, "Hey guys, look at this jewel I found. How much is it worth?"
Yeah, he'll send it to us, and we'll have
it in your own Discord.
I think this is worth breaking podcast. Mathel just hosted us for 2,500 viewers, or 2,700 viewers. Thank you, Mathel, very much.
Host.
Really appreciate it, dude.
That hype.
That's good shit,
Appreciate
man.
it,
Good
Mathel.
shit. Thank you.
What a guy.
All right. Yeah, for poetrade macro, it's a godsend. It really is. And like being able to do advanced searches, you can even price rares with this. So you just hit Control-Shift-D. It brings up a little box. It has all the mods, all the affixes in line of whether they're prefix and suffix. You check the box that you want to search for. There's some customizations that you can do to make it easier, but it puts a min and a max automatically. There was a time where I was just like removing the max every time because I want to see the min, but I don't really care about the max. I can judge that by myself. But then there's an option you can just have the max removed completely, and you just have to check the box and hit search on poetrade. It opens up a tab and tells you these are all the items that are similar to yours, and it just prices it. And it's such a beautiful thing. So I highly recommend. This is probably one of the biggest tools to use. I highly recommend it.
It's also really good for just the affixes alone.
Oh yeah.
Like just for the item info script, that thing. For me, I know a lot of the resources I used to use, like I don't know, Exile mods. I don't think Green Dude's been updating that.
Yeah.
Or what is it? PoE affix is the other one.
Yeah,
Like,
PoE 6 is I guess is going down. Unfortunate.
I found some errors in that one.
Oh, yeah.
It's just out of date and it has errors. Look at the database and that's all. Pretty painful. This thing is actually starting to get even to the essence mods. A little bit. And he's starting to. That's really important. To be able to centralize that data, to be able to have one place to go where you're like, okay, I just need to know this tier. What's the range on this tier 2, and not having to be like, oh, okay, well, Green Dude doesn't have that, or they don't know essences, or it's nice to have it starting to be centralized. And that poetrade macro key.
So yeah, one of the viewers in the chat said that he downloaded the newest version of the trade macro and an error comes up every time you try to check something. Whenever something happens like that, luckily enough on the GitHub page, he has the previous. He actually doesn't have the previous. That's interesting. Normally they have like the previous version, so you can download. Maybe I'm just not. You should be able to like check like the previous releases and like scroll. Yeah, okay, here we go. I was just on the wrong page. So yeah, you can actually go. So if this version, the most recent version, has errors or bugs for you, I would just download the recent version that worked and just use that one. You don't have to use the updated versions. He just looks like he just added some kind of functionalities for maps and stuff like that. Just fall back to the previous version and you'll be fixed. Also, make sure you're using you run it as command administrator. That's like the biggest thing that sometimes it doesn't auto run as administrator. So definitely make sure you do that.
Oh yeah. I had somebody have that problem, and I had to tell them the same thing.
So that's definitely a big tip as well. Any of the auto hotkey scripts, they have to be run as administrator. I think some of them can, if they have like basic functions, they can be ran without it. But I would just run all of them as administrator, as long as it's
Oh yeah.
you know, good for you, as long as it works for you.
So what about this item info script?
It's the same thing. It's built
Okay.
into the trade macro. The trade macro is the portion that searches the items live for you, and then the item info script is what shows you the affixes and what tiers they are. Just be careful when you're using the item info script portion. That's whenever you hit Control C. So Control C, if you guys aren't familiar, it just copies and pastes, or copies the text that's on the item. If you hover over an item, hit Control C, then paste it in into a Word doc or a chat or whatever, it'll post all of the affixes and suffixes. And what the poetrade or what the item info script auto hotkey does is it just places values of what they are. If they're like a tier 1 energy shield roll, tier 2 hybrid, and then flat, it just tells you all the prefixes and suffixes and what tiers they are. However, be careful when using it because it's not 100% accurate. For instance, like the essence mods aren't all in there. It tells you that the essence mod specifically for fear, it tells you it's a prefix, but it's actually a suffix, and that could really throw you off when you're like trying to price something, or if you're trying to see if something has an open prefix to craft onto. So just be careful when you're using it. Just use it to your best judgment. Try to craft something on it. If it says it has 4 prefixes, that's wrong, obviously. So one of those are a suffix. Stuff like that.
All right. The next thing is price my stuff. What is this price my stuff.mine? I'll paste
That
that
one,
in
it's
the.
That's another
Chat.
one that I've never heard of.
no, that's the one that we got from Bach. That one, it got renamed as something else, like it got a proper DNS,
Right.
but I don't
Oh,
remember
yes.
the URL for it. Like that's the one I have saved. If anybody in chat recognizes the site, when he pulls it up.
Yeah, I remember we used this for the 200 mace Tidebreaker.
Mm-hmm. To
This
track
thing's-
it at the beginning of a league.
Yeah, we
see
tracked
how
at the
it
beginning to
was-
see whether it was going up or going down.
Right, and it gives you really detailed data, so it can be represented in a graphical format.
I was a big fan of this one at the beginning of the league. I will say that.
So, like for instance, Mathel's been doing a Doomfletch Prism build. Let's see what kind of statistics over the last. You can do 6 hours, 12 hours, 1 day, or 1 week. We'll go over the last week because I think he's been playing it for a couple days now. And what this will do is this will search kind of the trend of the item. And as you can see, the Mathel effect has definitely kicked into play.
See all you guys out there that are viewing us. This is what y'all did to the market.
Yeah, and if you're still in Mathel's chat, feel free to hop on over. You got to click the show or join chat button top right hand side of the screen, or else I can't see what you're saying. And you also can't see what the chatting is going on here. Yeah, so it looks like on average a 6-link Doomfletch's Prism is going for 6x. A bit unfortunate because I sold mine for 4x the day that Mathel released his build, so that sucks. But you can't anticipate the future, so. Yeah,
That is
pretty cool
awesome.
website. Pretty cool website. I've used it a couple times. Like I said, I used it for Tidebreaker. This allows you to see the trends of stuff. So like right now, you can see that this item's pretty much flattened out over the last 2 days. It doesn't appear like it's going any higher or lower. It stayed at around 6x. The median, the average, and the mode. I don't know what is mode. Most popular price across the item. So I guess it's. I feel like the median, the average, and the mode are all the exact same thing in my head. Middle value of the price distribution, most popular price across all the items, and mean price across all items. All of that sounds exactly the same to me. And they all are the same number. But anyways.
Statistics.
Yeah. You can do
It's
that with
the
any
fun
item.
stuff.
And you can do that with within the last 24 hours, 1 day, 6 hours, all that stuff. Yeah.
And the way I use that one
Oh,
is
it's PoE rates.
pull up
That's interesting.
PoE rates is what it is.
Yeah, when you do a search, it actually uses the old name. poe-rates.com. Wait,
Or-
can I just go to PoE rates then?
Yeah, that's the new name.
No, the new name was pricemystuff.mine.nu.
No, that's the old. That was the
Oh.
original name.
Okay, well then we'll use this one. I'll post this one in chatting if you guys want it. Unless it's already been posted. It's already been posted. Cool. Yeah, I don't know. Any Eternity ever used this or knew about it?
Nope, didn't know about this.
There's
Although I
so
did know
many
about
awesome tools though, right? Like, it's
yeah,
beautiful.
there's like a crazy amount of stuff. I knew about poe.ninja, but again, I didn't use it very often.
And then
But I
like
didn't know about this site. No.
PoeNinja is great for being able to like look at a bunch of trends all at the same time, and then once you find something interesting, you bring it over to this PoeRates and look at the details on it.
It's definitely more detailed for sure. I kind of wish that, I don't know, like if it's a limitation of like the poetrade retention or whatever, but I kind of wish there was like maybe a search to go back maybe a farther than a week. But not so bad, I guess. Looks like it has support for the relics, which is nice.
I know.
So I'm not really exactly sure.
I thought I was crazy when I told people that you looks like Keanu Reeves.
I don't
Yeah,
get it.
Somebody's
A lot
like,
of people.
He doesn't look like that. What do you mean? I'm like, okay, I'm just stupid.
I don't know. I don't get it. People think I look like Keanu Reeves.
I don't. Maybe from the Matrix specifically, because he had his hair slicked back like that. Like I think that's it.
I've been
I think
seeing
it's just
John Wick in chat.
Yeah,
John Wick. Yeah, I
If
could
you
see
did
that.
John Wick.
If you did the from like Bill and Ted or something, yeah.
Do you have a pair of dark sunglasses you can put on?
I don't have any in my house. No, they're out in
Damn
my truck,
shame.
and I'm too lazy to go out there.
Fair enough. All right.
All right, so theory crafting builds, huh?
Yeah.
Dead on the inside.
This is a pretty good topic. All these are good topics in my eyes, but So the first one that I like to talk about is the basics, the PoE skill tree planner. Because it's essentially, I feel like this should be in game. Like I don't know how hard this would be, but I feel like you should be able to plan your skill tree out and then just hit apply. Kind of similar to like when you respec an entire tree and you have like you're able to plan everything out. I feel like I hope they add this eventually, but I feel like this should just be in game. What do you guys think? I'm sure you guys have used this all, right?
Yes,
Right.
the offline skill tree.
Yeah, just a straight up offline skill tree
Yeah.
planner.
Before PoE Builder or Path of Building, this was like a really great tool because I think PoE Builder and PoE Planner I think are the two online versions that existed before that, but they felt kind of clunky
I hated it.
to me, and they didn't really feel right. And this one was great because it gave you everything like pretty slick presentation and easy search functions and all the rest. And I like
Yes.
using it a lot before Path of Building came out. And they pretty much, I don't know if Path of Building, like, because you guys had Emmett on your talk before, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did they
Yeah, a couple episodes ago.
did they work together with the guys from Path of Building to do that, or
Nope. Completely
No?
separate teams. Yep.
okay? Because it looks like they took the same like tree layout and everything, so I didn't know if they were working together on that.
I think they're
But,
using I think that's what GGG provides them, because actually GGG does provide them with stuff. So my
Okay.
guess is this is provided by GGG and they're just using that. And plus, they're all open source. So like if I wanted to, I can grab all their source code and just like start slapping shit
right.
on it and like
Yeah.
just call it something else. Like it's all open source. Yeah, I remember first using this. Like this was like remember when I was saying that back when I was first learning, I used a bunch of guides and then I told myself I'm not going to use any guides this league. Started using this. And I was still kind of lost, obviously, learning a brand new tool and being fairly new to the game, not really knowing all the notables, all that kind of stuff. And I remember going like, okay, well, this is cool and all, and I can plan my tree, but like I have to hover over every single node, and I'm like, this is kind of shitty. And it took me a while to like build a tree. And then my buddy's like, on the bottom left-hand side, you can just like type whatever you want to search for, and it like pops up. I'm like, wait. So if I type in life, oh my god, all the life nodes are now circled in red. So if you're doing like a physical build, you type in physical, and it'll circle all of those. If you're doing a dagger build, you type in dagger, and boom, all the dagger nodes are highlighted. Like that right there was the thing that kind of blew my mind to the point where I started just making guides, or not guides, but builds. and then ever since then
Yep.
I've been using it. But yeah, this is definitely I think this is one of the beginning tools that, or like one of the first PoE skill tree planner, or any kind of skill tree planners. And I think they, there was the ones on the websites which I didn't like. They gave you some really weird link that you couldn't import into PoE skill tree. So when people came into my stream asking me to help with their build, they'd give me this link, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? I can't do anything with that link.
Yeah, you have to open it on their site to get the right URL for the
Yeah,
Path
the
of
PoE
Exile
URL.
site.
Silly.
Yeah.
So fuck them. No, I'm just kidding.
So entitled.
Yeah, Paul,
Think
how
on-
much have you messed with this skill tree? I don't know how like often you really plan builds. I know you're fairly
I
casual.
used to use Emmett's a lot, and then I finally started using Path of Building. I mean,
I think that's what we
sorry.
all are saying, and it sucks because it's such a good thing, right? Like Path of Building just trumps it completely, and in 100,000
Well,
different ways. There's nothing that
I
Path
mean,
of
and Emmett said that himself too. Like,
well,
you know,
yeah, he did say
uses Path of Building.
he did say that things were coming, right?
Mhm.
He did say that he had
So, I mean,
planned
he's-
upgrades.
He's still working to do it. So I mean, it's the same situation we have with poetrade. Like, you've got poetrade, and then you have poe app or whatever the hell it's called. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have all these things that are just competing with one another when they could just like work together and make one
I mean,
really good product.
I don't even know if as like coders usually they're
Well,
they're different. They're different breed.
I asked
Yeah,
him if
they're
they.
not gonna
I'm like,
do
why don't
that.
you guys just work
Working
together and
together
make like a
with-
really good tool? And
They're-
forgot his response, but
Yeah, just probably a lot of different coding styles and
But
know,
either
it's-
way, I think everybody for taking, I assume, at least hundreds of hours to try to like code this kind of crap.
oh yeah, like
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
my concern is like, all right, you're talking to Emmett a few weeks back, and he was saying that he's in his senior year at college, correct? For
Right.
CS degree.
yeah, and he was
I'm
I'm like,
he
well,
was
what
building
happens
these.
if he gets hired by something like Intel? And now, does he have time to maintain it? You know, that little bit of time they give him to update. Okay, then does the support for tools in the future? Because I've watched a lot of tools over the years disappear, just gone. I mean, the big one was what was that? Oh, I can't remember the name of it. The track peats.
I don't know.
The I can find the name.
But yeah, I mean, from what I gathered from the episode of Poetalk that we had Emmett on, and Emmett's the creator of. He's not the creator. He took over the project of PoE Skill Tree, the offline PoE Skill Tree planner, the original. And he said that he had a group of people underneath him that kind of does more. He said he didn't really do that much work this most recent. He said there was a couple of the people that he put names, and the names are in the.
Oh, cool.
So
So he has people to
So
hand
he has
it off
people,
to.
yeah, like right here, like Space Ogre. He said the Brathering is doing a lot of the work. At Brathering. He's got like 6 different tags here for at Brathering. Essentially, he's crediting people that have helped him do things. So my guess is that because he's got this team that somebody could easily just take, like Brathering, he's doing so much work anyways. If Emmett needs to go off to get it doesn't have time to update it, I think Brathering would take over, or one of these other guys.
Right.
I think we're pretty safe for that.
Yeah,
Path
the
of
one I'm
Building, I don't
thinking of-
really know.
The one I'm thinking of is like was Exile Tools by TrackPeat, and that one
Okay.
went down. But I think the reason that one went down and never came back up had to do with server costs, like to be able to run it because it had to be server side. Like, that was how he handed it off. He's like, yeah, here's all the code. You know, he's like, if anybody wants to bring it up, but it's just like the amount of data that it processed, the amount of requests and stuff like that, and the amount like how he didn't make any profit off of it. Like I think that's why it kind of went away,
Mhm.
and nobody picked up the stick.
I was gonna say that's another good point, that this is open source, so anyone could really theoretically grab this, and you just have to have that person to go in and help, and the people that do that, thank you. Like that's awesome. Like obviously it's you guys aren't getting paid for it, so it's just it's something for the community. Nice. But yeah, I mean this PoE builder, Path of Builder, it does so much. Funny enough, Mathel just did a video of like showing. He said if he feels like it's cheating, And I kind of agree with him because I mean, like I made this entire build before even doing anything, so I know the character's gonna work. Theoretical DPS is 1.4 million. I know the damage is gonna be good. I know how much ES I have. I know how much mana regen I'll have. I know how much reserved mana I'll have. I don't even need Mikolet's aura calculator because I put my skills that I'll be using in here, and it just tells me how much life I have reserved, mana, everything, block chance. It tells you can go into calculations and like look at like exact calculations of how everything's put together. What your crit multi is, your crit chance, your effective crit chance with lucky strikes, like everything you could possibly imagine. You can go into configuration and tell it if you're using power charges or frenzy charges or whatever. Like there's so much that I probably am not even using, and I feel like it's cheating. So if I were to like know the full power of this build, oh my god.
He did a really good job of compiling all of the different tools that you had access to before into one.
Yes.
For understanding all of your damage output and all of your defenses, which is great because one of the things that you don't really get to understand is like, you can see from planning a passive skill tree, the percentages or the numbers that you'll get from it, but you won't be able to see your final, like maybe armor value or ES value or how many attribute points you'll have or your actual DPS value. But you can min-max your tree, so to speak. But with this, you get access to all of those different numbers, which is, for me, I love that because I love to mess with numbers. So.
Oh yeah, I mean it's as good as like, okay, so if I hover over this crit multi spot right here, if I unallocate these 3 nodes, this whole cluster here, I'll lose 192,000 DPS. But then what I can do is, okay, say I'm trying to see if this cluster is better than like this cluster here or whatever. I know it's not even.
Yep.
Maybe if I drop crit, I can like hover over another path, and it'll say if I allocate all of the nodes leading up to this and this node here, then I would gain 212,000 DPS overall. So 212,000 for 7 points, as opposed to 192,000 for 3 points. So obviously the 3 points is much more valuable. So you can just kind of see everything hovering over them. You can see how much low life is giving me, 326,000 DPS. I mean, it's just so good. Like there's just so many calculations that this does. I mean, it really does. It's juicy.
And they just added the minion support.
Yeah, and I tried messing around with it, and from our last week's episode that we had of Poetalk with Dubra Elite and Ghazi, they were talking about zombies doing some massive numbers, and I don't know what they did, but I tried making, I don't even have it up right now, but I tried making, I mean, a zombie build to do that amount of damage, and I couldn't. They were saying 500,000 each zombie. I couldn't even get them like nearly 100,000, so I don't know. I'll have to see what kind of setup they have. And that's the kind of cool thing is like they can easily export their exact build from Path of Building, including gear, skill gems, jewels, everything about their build, their configurations, and they can just generate the code, share it with Pastebin. I go to the Pastebin, I import it, and boom, I have their entire build now, and I'll see everything they see. It's pretty awesome.
And I like the ability of importing from your actual characters, so you can pull from your live characters and see maybe what's the best upgrade you could make very simply and quickly. So.
Yeah, I had a viewer that wanted me to help him with his build, and he was like, "Just my account name's this." So I clicked start and imported all of his characters. Now this is all of his characters. He told me what the character name was. I said, "Okay, cool, go gloves." I clicked on it, and I import item and skills, and then I was able to tweak his build. And I ended up getting him like he was doing a freezing pulse elementalist, and he was doing like I think it was about 600 to 700,000 DPS, which is adequate. But I was able to get him up to 1.1 million. So like just tweaking things around this, I mean, this is just beautiful. I love it. There's so much functionality. I don't even know what they would add that it doesn't already have. They added minions.
My only gripe against it is like I see a little trend going where it kind of becomes the game's kind of going towards like, oh, let's see who can make the biggest number on the damage calculator.
Yeah.
As opposed to like how the build actually plays and all those fine nuances of like you getting to know a build. It's more about what is the number on the poe planner, the build planner say.
Yeah, and I think that's something that comes with. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was done.
Okay. Yeah, it's something that comes with experience to know the mechanics of how a lot of the skills and things you're putting into the build work. But it's sort of a tool that's good for I'd say like intermediate players and up, because you basically need to know what you want to be adding or crafting and editing into the build to fully understand the DPS numbers and things like that. But it
Yeah.
does give you the ability, if you already are in a build, to, if you're a new player, if you're already in a build, to pull your character in and just make some changes and see what happens. And it'll kind of give you a little idea how to toy with it. But I think starting completely from scratch, it's definitely something like an intermediate player needs to know, you know, what skills do what and how they interact. So you're not just getting, like you were saying, with like some millions of DPS, but you have this like really clunky way of having to actually play the character, which is kind of like what my Viper Strike character is like. So it's got like millions of DPS on the back end, but like it's a melee name lock, and you have to play it like right, or else you're just dead in a lot of those situations.
Yeah, one of my viewers is saying he got his Viper Strike DPS up to 23 million or some shit.
Yeah, mine was like higher than that with wither
That's
stacks on
retarded.
bosses. And but it's like you have to be able to sit on the boss and get to the boss without getting tapped out, and that's, you know, the problem, because you have to go life build with the way I was building it. So
life in 2K17 or no. Sorry. I actually just recently tried a life build and I had to completely abandon it and make a different character because I just couldn't. Even with the comms, I was so squishy. I've never felt so squishy in my life. It's
even when you weighed like 50 pounds more.
You had to take advantage of that life and the life affixes on the headhunter.
Well, it was because of the comms. I was just bitching that I never found the comms, and I'm like, I found one, and then I found another one, and I'm like, okay, I gotta use it. And I made a Doomfletcher's Prism Inquisitor, and the damage was fantastic. But the life.
Did you at least corrupt one?
What, the comms? No, I just sold them both. I did corrupt
cards.
I did corrupt 2+1 drill necks in 3 corruptions. +1 arrow drill necks. That was pretty good.
Damn. I have not gotten a +1 on anything.
Ouch. All right. I think we're done with theory crafting, right?
Lab navigation time, boys.
This one's needed.
Oh boy.
I added this one because so many times we get people, I mean, I don't know, like maybe they don't know who PoeLab is. Go ahead and introduce the website. I'll pull up the website.
Well, poelab.com is a website that basically has 4 images on there that tell you where to go in lab.
And some would even say it's just 4 images and a link.
It's been said.
It's been said that it's just 4 images and a link. And if you can see right now, it is totally just 4 images and a couple of links. No, but in all seriousness, what PoeLab is it's a group of people who run lab every day. All 4 of them, map them out, tell you where the exits are, the silver doors, the phases, all that stuff. And we just basically map all that out, throw it up there every 24 hours, miraculously. I can't even say that word. Somehow we do it. And yeah, that's basically what PoeLab is. PoeLab is as PoeLab does, as the chat says. But luckily, we've had some people come and start helping us out, like Engineering Eternity, Unchained Live. There's definitely some background help beside just this face here that people are like, that's PoeLab. He does images.
Yep, I'm the official Merc runner. We got Suit Size Small. He's the official Uber Lab runner. And yeah, we've got a bunch of people that have been helping. And I think Engineering Eternity and Unchained have been the most consistent in the past, like 10, 15 people, right?
I mean, I've only run 2 labs for you guys so far, but
you're way more consistent than the other 15.
No, I mean, I totally plan on, you know, running whenever I'm on and I have time. I'll toss my name in the document whenever I get a chance to.
I need to remember to do that. But, you know, I show up when I'm not supposed to be, and I do lab, and then I show up when I sign up, or I don't show up when I sign up. You know, all that fun stuff. Oh yeah, radioactive. Yeah, exactly as well. Radio.
I was gonna say.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say radioactive has been. I don't know. He's probably done like 10 or so.
Nice.
He's very consistent.
And that's another thing that we have on the PoeLab website is we've got a featured streamer section here. And like last week, I was the featured streamer. This week we got radioactive. Next week, I'm sure we'll have someone. Every week this will change, so make sure you guys check out the featured streamers section. Essentially, this is going to be for the people that are helping out with mapping PoeLab. And if you're interested in mapping PoeLab, feel free to message either myself.
Janessa
Oh yeah,
plays
message
PoE
Janessa. There we go. Janessa plays PoE.
in
She's in the chat right now. And she'll direct us and
Hey, pull up the
anything you
community
need.
page.
Sure.
It's the PoeLab community or whatever. Because I messed around with it a little bit. I changed it up that way you can actually see everybody on the team. You can see the team members, and I got to add some more people, of course, because I was down all last week.
Right.
But even the past people, I'm gonna start putting all the past people who've helped out, like Katori, or Satori. I'm sorry, he was running for us for a little bit, and he can't any longer because of work. So he's sad to leave, but I don't want to just take him off the team member. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna have a little Hall of Fame down there.
Okay, gotcha. Retired Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is just a little like I don't know, like a acknowledgement page for everybody that's running and what their roles are and whatnot. Yeah. People
Pretty
that we've
much.
done collaborations with, like Lifting Nerd Bro, we've done 2 YouTube videos as a collaboration with him.
And he helped out. He helped out with some server costs and stuff like that. I mean, he's helped us a lot.
He bought an ad on the main page. You guys might have seen the big purple sword. We needed to kind of make it a little better, where like it actually like portrayed that you can click and go to his YouTube channel, because it kind of just looked like it was just a cool looking sword. But you know, that's just one of the things that the website's always evolving, and you know, your guys' feedback is obviously greatly appreciated. Like I made the Uber Lab template, the most recent one that we're using, this green one here, and there were a couple things that I had done that made it, you know, kind of difficult and not as good as the other ones. But now I think it's looking pretty well. We're gonna be making some changes to the legend because people don't really know how to read the legend, I guess. I think it's fairly simple, but essentially the dots mean where the exit is in relative to where the starting room is. So like if you want to go to room number 2 from room number 1, that dot is saying that the exit leading to room 2 is top left. So you just go top left and you'll find it. If you hit the middle door that leads to room 3, you know that you're in the middle of the room that leads to 2 and 4. So then you would just go more left, and then you would find the room that leads to 2 to get the gold key. Obviously, with that specific layout, you would just find 2 gold doors, and then you would have to go bottom and then go left again, and then you would find that. So it's as simple as just taking the dots, and then like the line will lead to their room that they go to. It's pretty simple, but this maybe isn't worded correctly, and I think Suit Size Small is revamping the legend, and we'll be changing the template, you know, around a little bit to compensate for that. But yeah, well, overall, right now it's good, but we might have a better way to portray how to read it in the future. All right, we'll go move on to the crafting section.
We kind of covered the item script info. The only thing that I'd mention about that is that it comes bundled with the price check macro. That one that comes, you get both of them. But it's
Right.
really useful. Kind of already talked about it though. Want to go to the Poecraft one?
Which one?
Poecraft.
Poecraft. Oh.
That one's interesting.
Oh, you added all these links. I had all the websites pulled up, and you added a bunch of them.
The madman.
Poecraft. All right. So this is essentially what PoE Fix used to be, or was, but this is now different, I guess.
Right, you can craft items with it.
Oh, okay. So you can craft
Like,
theoretical items.
yeah.
Got it.
Right, so I was doing DPS checks, trying to figure out how to craft a wand if I wanted to use Deafenings of Contempt on it, if they were worth it, and stuff like that. And just coming here and checking the ranges on different combinations of mods, right, to see if I could, to decide, to make the decision. It's really good at giving you the representation of ranges and like how different ways to get to the same DPS.
Gotcha. So yeah, this would be very similar to what the Path of Building has, because you can craft all kinds of different items in path of building as well. But this would just be like if you don't want to load up the path of building tool, you can just kind of mess around and craft items.
I think it's like poeaffics on steroids. Think of it like that. That's how
yeah, like I was saying about path of building, it's kind of like another tool that was integrated into path of building where you can craft your own items and then see your actual build DPS from those items. But it is kind of interesting to see, at least for weapons and things like that, to see the actual modifiers and DPS you can get from the item crafting wise.
Yeah, exactly. And the other tool that we've got here would be, this is what's going to be replacing, or it's been around for a while, but I've been using poeprices.info, but as of July, they're discontinuing it because it's extremely outdated, and it hasn't been updated since, I think, Talisman or something like that, a really long time. So Path of Building is, PoeDB is essentially what poeafix used to be, but I don't really like the layout that much, but it has everything you need. You just go to amulets and it has everything, all the prefixes and suffixes.
It's a lot more though because they're data mining their values off of things, so they can give you like percentages on implicits for val orbs, right? You find out like, okay, what's a curse on hit on an amulet? What's the percentage for that implicit val, right? And it'll tell you, oh, it's a little over 1%. And then like, okay, and you can find out like if certain vowels are easier. And there's a ton of different things that it can tell you. Like it can tell you we figured out that Hydra was immune to poison because a database said so. We're like, wait, what? It says it's immune to poison. Like, what is this? And sure enough.
I think that PoeDB is the definite go-to next to the wiki, especially if you want to check for like legitimate numbers and damage outputs of bosses or monsters or the resistances. That's definitely check PoeDB for that information because they get a lot of that information straight from actual data from the game rather than just player experience or personal inputs. So it gives you a good backing, like actual data backing on that stuff.
There's also kinds of cool other like prophecy generators, currency simulators. You can do like you can spam
create
chaos
items on that, right?
and stuff.
I believe so.
Like you can do your own item creation, so you can make up
unique generator. Yeah, you can make your own unique. You can call it whatever the hell you want. This guy's called as the hair dryer. Well, yeah, you can do all kinds of fun stuff. It's definitely a site to check out. It's not just for affixes. That was like the thing for crafting that it's good at. I mean, it replaces poefix since that's going down, so this is like the next go-to source. But it has a lot of other things. Definitely check the website out. I'm gonna post that into the chat in case you guys need it. And I think that they have it in a bunch of different languages as well.
Yeah, of course, everything on PoeDB is like, as mentioned in chat, isn't always going to be right because it's just players getting the information from whatever sources they can from within the game or files. Which can always be changing or different. So, yeah, as it said, take it with a grain of salt. But it is definitely, I think, one of the best compiled and general information sources that's been pretty reliable in my experience, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty. If you can data mine the information, I think it's pretty set in stone that it's right, unless GGG decides to put in false values to kind of mess with people.
They do. They 100% do. They will hide. I think like something like Krillson. They're trying to figure out why they couldn't data mine Krillson. Like why didn't they show up in the database? And what happened was, if I remember right, GGG had hidden the files and sold some old audio files for the Scion. And like
nobody knows Scion anyways.
Like they would, like you wouldn't have thought if it's not named proper, in an identifying format. You kind of don't know when you're data mining things, and it just was all mixed in with other stuff, masking its existence.
Well, a lot of things have old names. Like when I was trying to get Brilliant to do some graphics for PoeLab, a lot of like Azaro and Argus, they don't have Azaro and Argus names. They're weird. I think Argus is like something pet or something.
Interesting. Azaro pet 1. But yeah, it's a useful site. Definitely check it out. Next tool that we want to talk about was the Verici calculator. It's a pretty simple tool, and it kind of explains everything you need to know. Just by looking at it, you just input how many sockets the item has. Typically, obviously, you'd put the maximum number of sockets for that item, unless it's corrupted or something weird. Yeah, you put the max number of sockets, and then also the requirements without gems. Make sure you don't have any gems or anything. Also, that'll skew up your numbers. So take all the gems out. So essentially, the way items work and how they roll with the chromatic orb is that if it is a strength-based item, it'll tend to roll reds more often. If it's a dexterity-based item, it'll tend to roll green, and so the same thing for blue. It'll tend to roll blue if it's an int item. If it's a hybrid, it'll tend to favor those two colors. And if it's all three, which I think there's only a couple items in the game. I know Adziri's chess piece, that can roll pretty evenly, right? It's got all three.
Yeah, I think it's got all three. Yeah.
Or if it has none, like a gold rim, for instance, it's gonna typically roll like pretty simply. Like it's gonna, if you want like 2 red, 1 green, 1 blue, or something like that, it's gonna be like fairly simple. It's gonna take like nothing if it has no requirements. But if it has like 120 dexterity, it's gonna require 1 red to get those 2 reds on there. And this is just a calculation that they've done. It's certainly not exact. It's a calculation, and also keep track of the standard deviations. Sometimes the standard deviation will actually cost you more if you follow the lowest chromatic one. For instance, like this one, it says 82, but the average cost of just chromatics is 82.6, so it's about the same. Standard deviation of 82. You could kind of look between the two and go, maybe I'll take the chance with chromatics, and you might come out ahead. You might not. This is just kind of a guide of like trying to figure out, you know, what kind of stuff you need. Like if you're looking for like a Cosprey's will chess piece and you want like crazy number of off colors, say 5 off colors, it's gonna cost you like 3,500 chromes. Like this is the kind of stuff that you need to know because you're going in deep. This will kind of let you know that. If you try just using normal chromatics, it says on average it'll cost 9,000 chromes, but if you use 3 red, it only costs you 3,000. One of those things that I don't know how many people know about it, but nice tool that we want to bring up. Do you guys have anything to add, or can we move on?
I think that covers it.
I'm gonna say a lot of new people don't know about it, and I want to say it saves their life every time I say something to them. Try a Verici calculator, or did you try the Verici calculator? What? Oh my God! Stop wasting chromes.
Yeah, some people will just like not even look it up because they can't be bothered, but they might be trying to get colors that like it's going to take hundreds and it might not even be worth it. It might be worth just going, you can just go straight up buy the item for cheaper than it'll cost to chrome it. So stuff like that, definitely check it out. Next thing we're going to be talking about, this was something new, and I don't know if either Polab and we were just talking about it prior to you coming on. It's called Filter Blast. It's a website that I had no idea it existed. It's essentially a website where you can go and look up all the filters that are available, and you can customize them and actually see firsthand what the customizations are doing. So like, if you wanted to use, like a lot of people use NeverSync's filter. So you go to NeverSync's filter, it loads in, and it shows you all the same stuff that we're really accustomed to. And you're like, okay, well, like when an Exalted Orb drops, you can click it, and it shows you that an Exalted Orb drops, and that's like the sound it'll make. But not only that, you can actually customize them as well. So when you scroll down, you can actually go through the code itself and customize them just by checking and unchecking boxes, as well as if you scroll down more, there's typically a... Well, they're not for NeverSyncs, I guess, but for some of them, you can actually see the code underneath it. Oh, you have to go to advanced mode. That's what it is. So you go to advanced mode, and you actually, yeah. All the people in chat right now, and they're like, "Oh, where's my exalted?" No, yeah. So the you can actually edit all the source code here, reparse it, and copy this, and put it into a Word document, or you can. Or a Notepad++, where you can save it. But this website, I haven't gotten a chance to mess around with it too much, but what I did like is there is a streamer sound clip.
Oh man, the chat.
This is really nice because, like, so for instance, like I just made an Exalted Orb sound, and everyone that's listening right now in the podcast on the live, they're like, where the fuck is the item that just dropped that's good? Because everyone's so accustomed to finding this sound. So now they're going to look again and try to figure out where their exalted orbs are. But the nice thing is and that happens when a lot of streamers play too, and Neversink, is in tune with that, and he goes, okay, cool. Now we're gonna switch over. You guys can use the very strict stream sound, and then when you click an exalted orb, it sounds completely different unless somebody decides to use the streamer version so that they don't hear the same sounds as the streamer.
What
So,
does it sound like?
Oh, it sounds like a, I don't know. I've never heard the sound before. I don't know what the hell that's supposed to sound like, but I don't know. It's
Click on a mirror of Calandra, please.
It's the same sound. It's
a
the same sound as
roar.
Exalted. I think the currency shares a group of tagging, and like all the Divine Orb, the Exalted Orb, and the Mirror of Calandra, and I'm guessing a Fishing Rod. Pretty much, if it's highlighted in red tier, then you know that you're really getting in there. You're gonna find that.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
actually listening to your stream. I just keep hearing it go off.
I make so many people mad in my stream because my tier 11 plus map drop is the same as the exalt sounds and or the expensive tier of currencies and Neversinks. So everybody, when they're watching my stream, gets very angry when I'm running high tier maps.
Yeah, I think we should
'cause the
definitely, as a streamer, as a group of streamers, we should probably all switch to streamer sound so that we can not trigger our chats every time we find something cool. What I've done to counteract that is I've like turned down the volume so low that sometimes I don't even hear it, which is frustrating.
yeah.
But what website is this? It's called Filter Blast. I'll give you guys the link here. Dissilator is the creator of it, and okay, yeah. So Sound of Destruction Dissilator. So Dissilator is the creator of it. There's a lot more in-depth things. Like I said, I just started messing around with this, so I don't know a lot of it. I just know that you can do some crazy stuff. So for instance, what I did just before the stream, or just before the podcast, I went to Uberstrict, and then I went down into the chancing section. And what you could do is, like, instead of like reading through all of this, you can just expand all and do a Control F and type in chance. So now this right here, I made it so that chancing for the chancing on Uberstrict, it doesn't show you the Stork boots and the leather belts. And I figured this league's the best one to show for those. So I checked out in both of those. And then after you check those, you can go down into all the way down to the bottom. For the editable source code, and then you can do Control F for Chance Orb, or I'm sorry, for leather belt. It's like this is what I wanted to do for leather belts. Scroll down for leather belts, and so this will show that leather belts will have no sound, but if you wanted to make it have a sound, which I do, you can copy this line here, player alert sound 730, and put it in the line below. So just copy. As simple as just pasting it down. So now it will have a sound if you put the pound sign in front of it. So now this will have a sound if you just match it with that. And now every time a leather belt drops, it will have that sound. Another thing you can do is you can change its font. For instance, like this one for Stork boots, you can have the font size a certain font. You can increase the font size bigger so it's easier to pick up. You can do that for everything. You can globally set everything to be bigger. Animate Weapon, recently I've been playing Animate Weapon, and I like to see the weapons that I can animate, but it gets to the point where there's a lot of white items drop, and now it like floods the screen of a bunch of red items, and they're bad, but it's cluttering the screen, and the text was so big. I found out that you can go through and you can make the font size 1. So then it's like a really, really small red bar, and I don't care what it is. I'm gonna animate it, but I just need to know something's there. So it's just like the small little indication that there's weapons there, which is perfect. So yeah, editing like this is fully customizable. You can do all kinds of crazy shit, and this just makes it easier. I think filtration is like a block editing system, and this is more of a how he worded it, but essentially it's an easy way to customize it for the beginner. And then there is more in-depth stuff that he's adding on. There's color themes, sound themes, all kinds of cool stuff. You can change the sounds, you can change the volume of things. It's insane. Like, this website is needed. Filtration is not really supported anymore. Yeah, it's good. And I know not really any other people had a chance to mess with this site, so obviously they're not gonna be able to put much input. But I just wanted to make sure you guys were, that's like the best filter thing I can give you.
It's important because, I mean, there's really not much out there, and loot filter is really complicated.
Yeah, this is very easy to go. Exalted Orb. What does it sound like? That's what it sounds like. Cool.
Animate Weapons Dream is that website.
Well, I mean, you can pull up Notepad++. This is what I did. Like when you use NeverSync's filter and you have to like show your animate weapons, by default, you'd have to actually go into open it up in Notepad++, Control F down to animate weapon, and then remove all the pound signs in front of the animate weapon section. And then that's where I found that you can change the font size to 1. And that right there is a game changer for me because I've had it set where font size, I think it was set at like 35 prior. And it would flood the screen. Like if you're doing like double beyond strands, like your screen is just filled with white items and it's hard to see everything else. So you're on its uber strict filter, but you're still seeing a bunch of shit. Setting it down to font size 1, I feel like will definitely eliminate that completely. I'm really happy about that.
Just need to see that there's something there.
Yep. I just need to know that there is anything to animate, and I see if a red line's there. I mean, you can still read it. It's like really tiny, but you know, it's one of those things where it's convenience. It's a convenience factor for sure. All right.
All right.
So we're wrapping up here. I've got about 15 minutes before I have to go to work here. So this section is going to be for community questions section. So this is any questions that you guys have. Feel free to head on over to the link that I've been providing in chat this whole time. I'll post it again. We'll try to get through as many as we can in the time allotment, and then I do have to run. Unfortunately, somebody was late, and it kind of pushed us to the edge of time.
One thing that I did want to ask everybody here was, is there anything that you guys want to see? Like, is there something that we need? Like, what do y'all want to see implemented for us? Quality of life, anything?
Talking for poelab.com specifically, or do you mean the podcast?
No. Path of Exile as a whole, like do y'all want to see like what kind of tool do we need? Like what should someone come up with? Because I mean, there could be a tool div out there that's like, oh, that's a great idea. I'll build that for you guys.
Yeah, Disolator here on Reddit. He's the guy that is the creator of Filter Blaster. I don't know if it's just him, but he's the guy that you're gonna want to message if you have ideas, if you have a filter that you've made that you feel like should be added. I'm not exactly sure how he adds the filters tier because there's a bunch of them, and I've only heard of like 2 or 3 on this of this list, but they're definitely different. They're definitely unique. After like using NeverSyncs for so long, switching to a different fluid filter is gonna suck. But I think that just being able to customize it, then I'll get used to it, and then I won't have to share the same sounds as my viewers, and overall, it'll just be a better quality of life for everyone. Yeah, that was like the biggest thing on here. Like there's a big section of a lot of stuff to read too. Like apparently there's just different kinds of like scripts that you can run that you can write the script and then refer to it as something. You can do tags for specific things instead of having to write down, show all of this stuff. You can make I guess kind of like a CSS style sheet for filters essentially.
Hey, engineering.
Yes.
Somebody wanted to know what made you decide to come out of nowhere and start pumping out these guides. I assume you had played for a long time. What flipped the switch for you?
So I've been playing since the beginning of 2013, but I had I played on and off in the beginning, and then I played pretty much for the past year and a half, 2 years, just straight like through all the leagues and everything like that without stopping. And I've been getting a lot of friends involved in the game, and they would come in and be confused, and I'd sit there explaining the game to them to their face for about an hour, and then they'd be like, I'm going to take a break, and then they'd never return. So it was basically like a compilation of those things where I'd keep getting better at explaining it, but it would still be way too much to just throw in their faces right when we're trying to play together. And I would quickly out-level them and everything. So I had experience since I was like in my teens and stuff like that. I've been making stuff in different photo editing software, video editing, and just doing videos with my friends. So I ended up getting into a lot of the After Effects stuff in high school. And since I had that experience already, I was like, I know how to use the software, and I've been doing some other video stuff. So I was like, I'll just put together a large guide since I thought people needed it, and I wanted it to help my friends. And it was just something I wanted to do for giving back to the game, just because I've been playing it for so long. And it was something, do it, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know, like I said, I think that releasing the beginner's guides as a bunch of different split up videos and all at once was brilliant, because releasing like a 5 or 6 minute video, then going like, in our next video we'll talk about this, and then waiting a week
Right.
and then releasing that. It's kind of like, releasing it all at once was beautiful.
One of my friends asked if I was going to do a staggered release. I was like, that would be a really dick move because people would be like, oh, I got to wait to watch the next part. I'm not coming back or I'll forget about it. So I was like, when I want to make guides and things like that, I just want to give everybody everything all at once so they don't, I have no intentions of like restricting my content in any way.
We have a link for the guides we can put in chat.
Yeah.
I did apply for my Engineering Eternity link, so it's no longer a really long link on my thing.
Oh, nice.
So I can put that in the chat. There you go.
Yeah,
Nice
there's
and
his. Okay, somebody else also. Torth, thank you, Torth.
Oh god, so many links.
All
Yeah,
the
that was
links. Yeah, these are very, very good. They're like it's definitely for beginners. So like if you've been playing the game for any length of time, past like 6 months or so, I'd say that you probably won't learn much. But I would still check it out just in case, because there are times where like I even don't know the very basic of shit, and I've been playing thousands of hours. So it's great to just have the reinforcement of knowledge, or maybe you forgot about something or whatever. There's just things you learn every single day about this game because it's so complex.
Yeah, I mean, even when I go back to make these videos, there's some things that I'll forget about, and then I'll be looking through like video or at the wiki or anything like that, and I'll just like, oh, right, that exists. I can't forget to add that. So there'll be a lot of things that I remember or forget during making them. So.
All right, so what other questions you guys got? I didn't really see too many on the.
The
Well, I
same
saw
one we always get.
I saw the Janessa one, which we've got to ask. So Keanu
You can
Reeves,
ask
are
that.
you single?
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, there's a lot of gay jokes that go on inside of my stream, and someone brought it up the other night. They were like, "Man, every time I come into PoE streams, there's always a real hint of gay going on in these things," and it was funny because it was one of my buddies that I joke with since back when we were kids. So
That you joke with?
yeah, we joke around.
All right,
you know,
you guys are joking.
we hang out, we have sleepovers, pillow
Yeah.
fights, all that.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I haven't. I actually haven't had a girlfriend in like 5 years, so you know,
Oh wow.
really pulling through on that one.
All right, Janessa. I know Janessa's looking. Hit her up on Tinder.
Oh god, don't get me started with Tinder and Bumble. I can't even take those things seriously. It's ridiculous.
All right, so it looks like as far as Reddit's concerned, there doesn't look like too many questions there. I've got a question. Do you have a video planned? What's your next video planned? Do you have one?
People have been begging for a Shaper's Guide, and I'm trying to hold off on the lower level stuff and a lot of the core game stuff until we know exactly what's going on with 3.0.
Right.
So I may be doing a Shaper Guide in the next week and a half, something like that. And then after that, I have the lab video that I've been meaning to get out, but I was waiting for, again, 3.0 confirmations. And then I wanted to do an efficient level guide for all the acts, because I really liked when I play PoE, I really like seeing how fast I can progress through the acts and what's the most efficient ways to do things. So I wanted to make something along those lines for people that have already maybe done the story, know what's going on. They just want the fastest way to get through it or the most efficient way to get through it, so they don't not doing random side quests. So those are like the three probably big ones and planned out. And then, whatever else is getting thrown at me, like the trading stuff, the PoE builder guide, path of building guide, stuff like that. So
one of the questions, do you plan to do any solo self-found guides? Now, I guess this would probably fall under the category of probably until after 3.0, right? Because like it's all gonna change. There's no reason to do it yet, right?
I'm probably going to. I really wanted to do actually solo self-found hardcore at the end of this league, but I think with the beta and then all the videos I've been making, I just haven't had time to commit to that because that's like a pretty big investment to make sure I'm actually getting through that content. So, yeah, I do like the concept of solo self-found, and I have been meaning to play it, so I will probably make a guide for it at some point. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, I know that Zizarin right now, he's actually playing solo self-found up to level 70 just to have the knowledge of how the leveling experience is as solo self-found. He hates it, but he gets a lot of the questions asked, like, is this viable for solo self-found, or what? He gets asked a lot of solo self-found questions. So he's like suffering for his viewers to try to get information to give to his viewers. I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
was gonna say no one can go to Project PT anymore and ask him about SSF stuff.
It's true.
You can go to Carve. Carve is pretty into that. I mean, he just #1 on the ladder last league.
Yeah, Carver is actually a really good guy to go to for that information. He has a lot of information. If you go and ask him in his stream, he'll explain stuff. He was just explaining to me though when I was talking with the other day. He's like, he has all this information and he's tried to make videos for it, but he just gets overwhelmed. And he's like, I'll make this quick video, and it turns into this really long thing. And he doesn't like editing videos and stuff. So we were talking maybe we'd do something together for something like that with Solo Self-Found and the mapping and the atlas and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean the things he does with like area breakdowns for pushing through content fast, and like the detail that he puts into and the knowledge that he presents, it's quite impressive, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely top notch. Like we had Carvon last week with Tarky, and a lot of knowledge. Or not last week. The week before last week. And a lot of knowledge was dropped in that episode about all kinds of different stuff, and it was kind of cool to hear. I haven't really interacted too much with Carv, maybe in a little bit in a stream from time to time. I've hosted him a couple times, he's hosted me, stuff like that, but never really sat down and like got the expert advice that he has. And I would say in his certain fields, he's definitely an expert in the Path of Exile portion of whatever he like racing and solo stuff on and stuff like that. And he's got the knowledge, just no problem. Which is great. Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I don't see any other questions that we have, and I've got to run out for work. So, thank you all for joining me. All the Twitch streams and the YouTube links are on the page right now. Feel free to follow these guys, check out the streams, follow the streams, subscribe to the YouTube channels. And keep
be sure to check out Engineering's new video about dealing with the Guardians. The Guardians Guide.
Yeah, I'm going to have all links down in the description. It's going to be somewhat of a big link section because we talked about so many different things. There's probably going to be 20 links or so. I'm going to have links to all of Engineering Eternity's guides that are they're all top notch, honestly. Like if you go look at them, they're well formatted. They're themed. He like tells a little bit about the lore of the game while it's not just a guide about whatever he's talking about. He kind of intertwines some of the lore into the game and kind of speaks to you as if, I mean, you're the exile, you're coming in. He's kind of maybe even a master. Is that the kind of role that I see it, like the master's teaching you things about the game. So I think it's cool. It's laid out very well. Definitely check those out. Like I said, those will all be in the description below. I'm going to add timestamps in the description below over the next day or so. The video will be up shortly. And I want to thank Engineering for joining us. And chat, thank you for joining us. Feel free to follow the Twitch channel. And we do this every Monday, typically at 9 p.m. Sometimes it changes if we have like European guests or somebody from over on that side. We try to compensate for that, so sometimes it might be early morning. But we're going to always shoot for 9 p.m. as our like standard time, and I hope to see you guys next time.
All right, thanks for having me.
Guys.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, Dicey's on here too.
Don't forget about him.